Hey folks, welcome to our March Live in our Facebook group, CBD and Holistic Pet Support. Thank you so much for coming and for taking this time to learn more about how to help your pets in this change of season as we are warming up, getting outside, and seeing some different kind of contextual things that we can be aware of in the way that we take care of our pets. We've got a really great conversation for you today. My guest is Dr. Cesar Tello, and we're going to be talking about really just some really practical ways that you can help your pets. Spring cleaning, this idea is generally thought of as just cleaning house, getting things back in order in your home. But I want to kind of take another look at that and look at it as a time that we can reassess and reset the inputs that we have in our pet's health. Over time, we know that routines can drift and supplements can accumulate. Environmental exposures definitely change in the spring as we get outside and people start changing their habits. And it offers just a really unique opportunity for us to pause and kind of ask ourselves what's helping our pets thrive and what might quietly be adding some stress to their lives. Something as I was preparing to talk about this that I found out, indoor air pollution can be sometimes 2 to 5 times worse indoors than outdoors. And that's often driven by the types of cleaning products we're using, the chemicals that are just so readily available, that smell really good, that give you that clean smell. The things that we're using in our laundry, we're laundering our pets' beds and all the different fabrics that they are in contact with every day. And so it's a really great time to kind of freshen things up in every way. I love the concept that is present in Scandinavian culture of burping your house, opening the windows, letting that fresh air in, and not just to kind of clean that air, but as an energetic reset. So while we're looking at what this means indoors, let's also see what it means outdoors. We got sometimes 10 to 20 times more pollen in the air. And a lot of pets I know out there have a lot of different sensitivities to these environmental changes, to the pollen in the air, to the grass that they're going to be rolling around in. So today we're going to identify some of these stressors, help to simplify our pets' environment and routines, and then remove some of those unnecessary inputs that may no longer be helping our pets. I mean, we've got a change of season. We are no longer in this wintry phase where energies are lower, where we've got less of that chi flowing. We're starting to have that expansive nature of the spring and summer coming into their lives. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guest today, Dr. Cesar Tello. He is the medical director at Noah's Ark Pet Clinic, an integrative clinic located in New York City. He incorporates acupuncture and Chinese herbs into his integrative practice. And to relax, he enjoys writing, hiking, watercoloring, and exploring the culinary delights of New York City. So please help me give a warm welcome to Dr. Cesar Tello. Hey, Cesar.
How you doing? Nice to be
I'm
here.
good. I'm good. Happy to have you here, another New
Oh,
York resident. You're from New York, though, right?
yeah, I was born in Peru. I came here when I was a baby. Yeah, I've probably been here, I don't know, 50 plus years.
Wow. Okay, so you're a real New Yorker.
Yes.
I've got
No.
13 years.
Yeah.
I got my card 3 years ago, so I'm official, but I'm not a 50 plus year guy.
Yeah.
Cool. So I wanted to kind of start off asking, sort of, if you could paint the picture for us. What does this time of year look like in your practice compared to the rest of the year? Like, how does this
Yeah.
seasonal context affect your clients?
So we're coming out of the winter. So the
Mhm.
winter is a very internalizing time. So a lot of energies go internal. So the yin is internalized, your yang is internalized, and the spring, the yang is trying to come out. The yang, and so what I see is when the yang is coming out and it's not doing well, um, I'll see allergies. Um,
Mm.
I'll see, so with the skin, with the ears, sometimes we'll see urinary tract infections. So inflammatory components. So yang moves a lot of energy, so you'll have some inflammation. So allergies, urinary tract. Um, Sometimes we'll have issues with, dogs will have eye infections. So whenever
Mm,
I see inflammation in Chinese medicine, we talk about damp or damp heat. And
mm,
so eye infection would be damp, an ear infection would be damp,
mm.
having diarrhea would be damp. So any type of inflammation would be a damp condition. So
Interesting. I mean, that kind of makes sense with this kind of rainier season, that
uh,
damp energy.
a lot of ear infections, big time ear infections, skin
Yeah.
infections, like paw. Um, in the summer, or I'm sorry, in the winter, we have a lot of like internalized yin and yang. So the circulation of the ears and the circulation of the paws is poor. So sometimes you'll have problems with that in the middle of winter, like
Mm,
allergies in the middle of winter. And I'm like, oh, that's very odd to have allergies in the middle of winter, especially when that's the only season that the allergies comes up in. And that's
right.
a fusion issue. And so
Right.
because in the winter, the body's like, well, who needs my blood? My blood needs to go to like all my internal organs, but my ear, low priority. My paws,
Yeah.
low priority. So that's why sometimes in the winter, people's hands are cold, or their ears are cold, or their nose is cold. Same thing with animals. They can have cold extremities, and then
Hmm.
so they'll have their ear problems or their skin problems, and we'll help them with that in the winter. And then come the spring, they'll have another surge of allergies, or even in the summer.
Mm,
And so sometimes these problems sometimes even come every 6 months. It's
right.
kind of interesting that they can happen like cyclical
Yeah.
allergies. Like people with allergies, like they'll have it in the spring and then they'll have it again in the fall.
Yeah. It makes me also wonder, like, there are a lot of people who get puppies in December, Christmas present puppy for the kids. And so for a lot of them, maybe this is their first spring season.
Yes.
And maybe their first exposure to some of the toxins and different triggers that might be in their environment. What's your kind of, how do you advise your clients
Yeah.
on avoiding those as they're going on their first walks, as they're interacting with flowers and lawns and things?
No, of course. I mean, the most important thing is an animal needs to have creativity. So that means that an animal should be able to walk a straight line and explore.
Right.
Obviously, in the suburbs, that's a little easier. In an urban setting, you have to be careful because a lot of cars. But you could probably do it in the park. But
Hmm.
so coming to back to your question about the first spring, um, the first thing I do with families, I try to talk to them about diet. I say,
Mm.
what do you
Yeah.
feed? So I try to get them off kibble and onto like some type of real food. There's a lot of options. I mean, cooking is a issue for some people because some people are like, Doc, I don't cook. I said, oh, okay, I'll help you figure it out. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I try to tell everyone, you
Yeah.
should cook. It's
Well,
important.
in New York City, it's a lot of delivery.
A lot of delivery, a lot of delivery. So we try to help
Yeah.
them with that, but so I always emphasize it's important to get real food. That's the first point.
Yeah.
Second
What do
thing is,
you, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
the second thing is once you go into puppy, like, you know 2 months, 3 months, up to 4 months, socializing.
Hmm.
Socializing, like they have to see
Yeah.
everything in the summer, because if they don't see what's gonna come out in the summer, in like, January, February, they'll be afraid of it. And if they have
Right.
anxiety, anxiety
Yeah.
is this really calm. I mean, like, I would probably say like 50% of all my patients have anxiety. I mean, like, just look at
Wow.
human populations, right? Humans have a lot of anxiety.
So
So
this is a great time of year to sort of reset those patterns and take advantage of this expansive nature, to get out there and to use that invigorating energy to keep them active, to keep them sniffing. But it also makes me think of some of the things that they're going to interact with, the lawn fertilizers, the weed killers,
yeah,
all these things. What do you, how do you advise people
yeah,
to
no,
mitigate that threat?
yeah, no. I mean, so here in New York City, especially with some of the homes, we have a lot of people who take care of their gardens. I mean, I go to Home Depot every once in a while, and right there, Roundup, glyphosate, Roundup, and I'm like, and so I know people are using it in their gardens because there are no weeds, right? And this is like and so what happens is it rains, all that water runs off onto the sidewalk,
Hmm.
and the dog walks in it.
Right.
I tell a lot of families when you come home, do a baby wipe or
Wipe the paws.
put on little booties so that they don't touch it because you
Yep.
know all that internalizes. I mean, they're gonna come
Yep.
home, dogs lick their paws, so they're
Right.
and then they lick
Yep.
up.
Yeah, and
So
then they get it on the furniture and everywhere that we are too. All the more reason I imagine to take really good care of the paws, especially leading up to the spring right now. Maybe it's still a little snowy where you are, it's still a little cold. Not too late to start using something that can, some sort of a balm like our Soothe or Nourish on their paw pads to keep that barrier intact so that you can just clean wipe it away without it integrating into the skin first.
yeah, so the way I use the CBD Nourish and Soothe is when it's inflamed. So it's inflamed and red and like moist. I'll use the Soothe.
Mm.
When
Mhm.
it's more of a blood deficiency, meaning it's pigmented,
Mm.
it's dry, so it's not moist, it's dry.
Mm.
I'll use the Nourish. So I'll use Nourish for more blood deficiency issues, and I'll use the Soothe for more inflammatory issues or damp heat issues.
Right, right. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk to me when we were meeting before this, you talked to me about Xiao Yang
Yeah.
disharmony.
Oh
What
yeah.
is that?
So this is a concept that was shared with me by Dr. Steve Marsden as I've been
Oh
taking
yeah.
his courses. And so Xiaoyang disharmony is this issue where energy is always going from the yang to the yin, from the yin to the yang. So it's going throughout the year up and down. And it has to go through this middle point. They call it a pivot. So that's called the Xiaoyang area. So if the energy is down here, it has to go up here, usually in the summer. So it has to go through the pivot. And then during the winter, it has to go down here through the pivot. Sometimes this pivot gets stuck,
Hmm.
whatever reason. And it gets stuck during the spring and during the fall. So what we'll see is during the spring when it's stuck, wherever it is, whether it's internalized or externalized, we'll have to give them herbs to help with that. But to
Hmm.
help it's stuck, you have to use an herb called Xiaoyang, Xia Chai Hu Tang. So that's the name of a Chinese herbal formula that we use. Usually, sometimes these dogs with Xiaoyang disharmony will come in with allergies,
Hmm.
anxiety,
Hmm.
chronic intermittent low grade GI disease. Um, Sometimes they'll have hip problems. Sometimes they'll have knee problems. Um, Sometimes they'll have a dysbiosis. It depends on how
Hmm.
long it's going on. So, if like a family will come to me, and I'll usually ask for the medical record. Maybe like 2 or 3 clinics. Each one like 40, 50 pages, and I have to kind of look through it all. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, this looks like a Xiaoyang because look, every 6 months something's going on. You're getting sick, and
Hmm. It's cyclical.
yeah, yeah, and you can see it in the medical record. You see, oh yeah, look, urinary tract infection
Wow.
in April, and look, in September you got some type of diarrhea, and then you had enough, and it's only every 6 months. And so
Hmm.
usually with those pets, I tell them, listen, if you put them on this herb for a significant amount of time, I said, how long has your dog been sick? Oh, my dog's been sick for 2 years. Then you have to use it for 2 years. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah, because the animal's been sick for a while. And the most important thing there is get it on a real food diet.
Right.
Thank you.
Man, your clients are so lucky to have somebody like you really looking at their records, zooming out, being able to kind of see this whole picture. I think so many vets are overwhelmed and they get
Yeah,
to have these 15-minute
yeah,
interactions with their clients once a year and then that's it and so much of it you can miss. I have a
yeah,
question though, but so you're talking about these kind of these cycles.
yeah.
What about different food energetics and how those play a role
So,
in the year? Do you recommend people changing up the types of proteins that you're using depending on what season we're in?
yeah, definitely. So food has energy. So in general, red meat and chicken are heating. Um,
Hmm.
Turkey, pork, whitefish are cooling.
Hmm.
And then then there are other things. Um, so in the winter, you want to be warm. So what's a nice warm? Beef and chicken.
Hmm.
Lamb would also be heating. Venison is heating. Um, swordfish if you want to feed that. Um,
Wow.
but
Sounds delicious.
it's expensive. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
these would be the options. But beef and chicken, beef and chicken,
Yeah.
easy, very easy, boiled, steamed, no frying.
Yeah.
Um, and then in the winter, and then in the summer, cooling. So turkey, pork is cooling. Um,
Hmm.
white fish is cooling, and those. I
Hmm.
mean, you can feed beef and chicken in the summer.
Hmm.
Not that you can't. It's just don't
Hmm.
feed it every day.
So if we're addressing this damp energy, are there some things on the other side of that spectrum that are that are drying in a from a Chinese
Yeah, yeah.
herbal
So
perspective?
yeah, a lot of vegetables will be. You kind of have. Let me just look at my little list. So like anything green. So like you know, scallions, pumpkins is damp.
Dogs can eat scallions?
I mean, so everything in moderation, right?
Okay.
Everything in moderation. Everything in
Hmm.
moderation is safe. Um, it's very important. Like when I teach families how to home cook, I always tell them, I said, you really have to be aware of where you're getting your products from, and you really need
Hmm.
resource. You just can't put a chicken, a little bit of green, and a sweet potato and say that's balance. It's not.
Right.
You have to put your chicken or your meat, you have to put your vegetables, you have to put your supplements, you have to put your omega oils, you have to put some animals will need some salt, especially.
Hmm.
So I mean, I give people handouts. So I always ask them. I said, "Do you want the math? Do you want something simple? Do you want me to
Right.
get you a nutritionist?" So I
Yeah.
mean, do you want to just eyeball it?
Yep.
Everyone has a different energy in terms of how they want to do it. Some people are like, "Doc, way too much detail." I said, "Okay,"
Yep. Yep.
and so you
I
have to
mean,
meet people where they are.
that's one of the main reasons I love medicinal mushrooms and hemp is they are so versatile. And for those folks who are already overwhelmed, they've been told so many different things. Even in just the context of what we're talking about today, when we talk about the necessary detox from some of these chemicals that you might have in your spring cleaning regime or a regimen, and your what they're interacting with outside, mushrooms and cannabis are fantastic for supporting the liver, for supporting the kidneys, to help with that detoxification, with the inflammatory responses that you get through the respiratory system on the skin. You can use these things both topically. A lot of people don't know that reishi, one of the foundational mushrooms in, for instance, our Breathe product, that's something that you can also use topically. Reishi is fantastic topically. Our ease tincture, which we use for most kind of inflammatory conditions and this sort of spring itchiness, ease is another one that's fantastic that we see a lot of people really succeeding with at this time of year.
Yeah, no, so with respect to those supplements, like with ease, I usually tell them to put it in the gums rather than put it in
Hmm.
food. And then with like let's say functional mushrooms, just put a little bit in the food. It's always tricky. Like some cats are very picky, some dogs are very picky. So do they want the powder? Do they want the liquid? Do they want a tablet? You always have to kind of like figure out. That's also challenging because sometimes a pet will be fine with a liquid, and then after 6 months they're like, nope, they don't want the liquid anymore. Now you have to figure out
Right.
another source. So, but definitely incorporating like a concentrate, like CBD, or you can also just buy the plant. You can actually
Mm.
buy mushrooms and just at the grocery store and just incorporate them into the cooking. That
Absolutely. I love putting mushrooms in Archie's food. There's so much that you get, so many vitamins and nutrients and different fibers that really help to benefit the gut and the microbiome diversity.
excellent.
We love feeding him mushrooms, and then using those in combination with a liquid extract that has gone through those processes to pull all of those beta glucans and triterpenes. Sorry, we're using the polysyllabic science words here, but these extracts have taken out all that good stuff. So I love both feeding them and using these extracts. Earlier, you touched on kind of some of the behavioral reset that happens at this time of year. Our routines are changing.
Yeah.
We've got longer days, we've got brighter mornings, we're staying out of the house probably more, and through the evenings, and our pets routines change with them. Their rhythms are directly synced with ours. Their stress hormones often directly mirror changes to ours. So how can we make sure that this shift isn't too stressful for them, and that we can kind of ease them into the next season?
I mean, definitely using the CBD tincture helps. Also, there's some herbs that you can use to help calm dogs down. Like we use Xiaoyasan. That's another herb that we'll use, especially when there's a lot of anxiety. So what I notice is when it changes from winter to spring, um, you know, dogs are walking out more, so there are more people in the streets. Um, the light is out, so which is great. It's incredible. Some animals get stressed by that. It's incredible.
Mm,
They get stressed
yeah.
seeing the more light.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
and for me, that's a Xiao Yang disharmony. Like I
mm,
like whenever I see anxiety and then some illness coming out of it, I'm like, I bring them in the clinic. I feel the pulses. I look at the tongue. I do some scanning of acupuncture points. I'm like, oh no, no, this is and usually anxiety, and you can find that in the record because there'll be all this history of anxiety, especially if they
mm,
come from another clinic, and you'll see things that they use gabapentin, um, sometimes they use Valium, trazodone, you know, heavy duty meds, and so
mhm,
that, and I'm like, have you tried a Chinese herb? Have you tried this? And have you tried CBD? And so it's kind of interesting, you know, people have to kind of decide, how do I want to treat it?
yeah,
Because conventional medicine works, except it's just a big, big commitment because now you have to
right,
fast acting med, a short acting med. It's chronic. You can't stop it. A lot of side effects. You're doing
right, right,
for 6 months. So it's like people. It's a big, and then you have to do the therapy. You
right.
have to do the therapy. So
Right, right. If we're not just addressing the root cause, if we're just kind of trying to get a head start on it, and then that's the whole plan, then we've never really addressed the root cause. But that's why I love, again, adaptogens like mushrooms and cannabis. They're extremely safe, even at these astronomical doses that they've done research on to see what the safety profile is. They have a really broad therapeutic window, which means that you don't really have to land on these specific dosages the way that you would with a traditional Western medicine. And so they're very safe. They work for a lot of different animals in different ways, depending on what their needs are. So it's just a really fantastic tool.
yeah, no, so the way the mushrooms help, it's all about GI health.
Mm,
Once your GI is happy, you're happy. If your GI
yeah.
is not happy, you can be, kind of like maybe a little annoyed. And imagine a pet, just like grumpy and like leave me alone, or tries to bite, and
Yeah.
people brush that off. Oh no, he just doesn't like people, or he gets anxious, and then it gets normalized. It gets
Mm,
normalized,
right.
right? Then
Right.
no one does anything. So
Yeah.
but when your gut is not happy and when you have like soft stool, even low grade soft stool,
Mm,
yeah, definitely mushrooms or probiotics, CBD, but real food. They need real food away from kibble, away from canned food. And I say real food like people have to cook. No, you don't have to cook. You can get minimally processed food. Let's see, what would be, I like Evermore. I like
mm,
All Provide. I like Raised Right. Um, I like Dr. Marty's. Dr. Harvey's has some diets. Um, Kiwi. Ziwi. There's a lot of
mhm,
options now. There's definitely a lot of
yep.
options. And
Yeah.
then the thing that I always try to emphasize is you have to learn how to read the ingredients,
Right.
because
Right.
like my families come in with kibble and I just punch up the iPad and I look at the ingredient and I say, look, only the first ingredient is real meat. Everything else is carbs.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Right. And it can look like there's all this. I love some of the regulation that they have in other countries, like in Japan. If you show broccoli and chicken and these things on the label at a certain size, the thing has to contain at least a certain percentage of those. Where in the United States, you can have a big thing of broccoli and it can be the second last ingredient, and
uh,
there's none of it in there.
yeah, very misleading. Yeah, no, no.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Um, back to the idea of this kind of the seasonal changes, the stress. I had this thought because I just basically completely turned around my bedroom. I love a reset. I love to take this time to get rid of all the knickknacks and things that I've just been collecting, and kind of reorient my space. But I'm wondering also, does that have an impact
Good.
on stress for our animals, for dogs, for
Yeah.
cats especially? I know they're a little more sensitive to that.
Yeah. So my experience is cats love routine. So
Mhm.
I tell families, I said, did you change, like, especially the big issue is a urinary tract infection, some urinary tract issue, especially around the spring. And so I'll always ask them, did you change the food? How long ago or how quickly? Did you
Mm.
change the cat litter? How long ago? And did you change the space where the cat litter is? Did you change
Just
furniture?
moving the cat litter.
Just moving the cat litter from here to like another part of the house without properly kind of like guiding the pet, complete stress.
Mm.
Complete, especially
Mm.
if you're a young animal, probably you can figure it out. But let's say you're a 12-year-old cat and you're used to a routine. So and let's say there's a little bit of cognitive dysfunction syndrome. So now
Mhm.
you're kind of like going a little Alzheimer's. So now you're getting lost. So now you don't know where it is.
Mm.
So it becomes a big issue. It becomes a big issue. So I always tell family, with cats, change one thing at a time. Only
Mm.
one thing at a time. If you're gonna change his food, only change it. Don't change the food and the cat litter. Don't change the food and something else. I said only one thing at a time. Cats are super, super. Now, not all cats are like this. There'll be some cats you can change and nothing happens. But you know those cats. But if your cat
Right.
is sensitive, you know from the beginning, one thing at a time. Only change one thing at a time.
Right. Yeah. So we're not recommending this time of year to be a whirlwind and throw everything out and bring everything new in. Slow changes, do them incrementally, let our pets kind of reset with the season. It's not all flowers and bumblebees yet. We're doing this on March 19th because we've still got a little bit of time. This is preemptive.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes people clean like the dog bed or the cat bed, and cats love their smell.
Right.
So all of a sudden
Yeah.
now it's clean and it's perfumed, and you're like, the cat doesn't like
Right. So maybe just like water and
soapy
vinegar or
water.
something, really
Yeah,
just
just
water.
just soapy water, no
Yeah.
no odor. Now over time, you can do things like buy scent, but maybe buy a hydrosol that they like. I don't know you're
Yeah.
if you're familiar with hydrosol. So hydrosol
Of
is the
course.
water that comes from a plant. It's not the essential oil, it's the water. So it's very
Right.
safe. And you buy it in the supermarket, you could buy it online. Like I get a lot from Mountain Rose out in Eugene, Oregon. And I also like
Mm.
um, one in San Francisco. It's called the original something, original Swiss
Yeah.
aromatics, and there are
Yeah.
some. They sell hydrosols and very safe, and you can get Yang Lang, you can get lavender, you can get chamomile. I mean, there's a whole. I mean, they have like a whole bunch, and you can
Yeah.
use that smell to kind of like reactivate this cognitive dysfunction where they're like, well, where am I? Or and
Yes.
now you're using smells to show them, listen, this is your cat litter, this is where you eat. So I mean, there
Hmm.
are ways to help them with that.
Yeah. Have you tried our grooming spray Restore?
I don't think so, but I might have it, but I don't remember. I don't think.
Okay. If you don't, I got to send you some because it's my favorite. I mean, I use it on Archie for dry skin, for when he gets kind of itchy in between baths. If it's something all over the body where I can't put like a soothe salve right on it, it's something that I can put all over his coat. But it's also like a great bedding spray. I spray it all over my own bed because it's got lemongrass and rose hips in it, so
Love
it,
that.
it it smells super fresh. It's a great spring smell, but no synthetics or fragrances. So something that you can use on your dogs and directly on their bedding and kind of around your home that doesn't have all these chemicals that we're talking about that give it that fresh smell when you're cleaning.
Definitely.
Um, I wanted to switch to another topic that again we sort of talked about before, which is I think one of the most important sections that we're talking about today, and that's just the idea of looking at our supplement cupboard and just seeing how many things accumulate. It really can creep up on you. I look at the things that I take myself, and every few months I'll be like, where did all this come from? How did I end up taking 10 different things in a day? And you have different needs throughout the year, as our pets do. And I think you can sometimes forget what you were even using them for, and forget to check in with yourself, like, is this actually helping my dog or my cat? 40 to 50% of pet owners give their pets supplements every day, according to AVMA. So most people are out there with a supplement routine. And again, this is just such a good time of year to take stock and see what's working, what's not, why am I using this,
Yeah.
and is it still relevant? How do you help your clients determine which supplements are actually working? Are they still appropriate? How do you give them guidance on that?
Yeah, I mean, so usually they'll bring in the supplements or they'll email them to me, and I'll just, again, I look at the ingredients and I'm trying to see what it has. Have they been storing it well? Like some tinctures have to be put in the refrigerator because they store better. Unless you use them quickly. If you use them quickly within a couple of months, no big deal. But if you're using a tincture for like a year, probably needs to go in a refrigerator, just to be to last longer. But
Mm,
what so the big concept that I share with families is, you know, if you have 10 supplements, right? There's no reason to do them all at the same time. In fact, I call that pharmaco confusion. That's like way too much. And the same thing applies in Western medicine, right? When we have cases like really complicated, like liver failure cases, there could be a whole list of medicines, and you have to kind of like look at the animal, you have to look at the pet, you have to look at what's easy. Like, okay, I'm giving 4 pills. That means that I have to open the mouth each time to give the pill, and that pet's going to be annoyed. Unless he's a great eater. If he's a great eater, just put in the food. But especially when you have these little animals, you have to be very, very careful. So one thing I'll tell them is, I said, do not be afraid to cycle one thing on and one thing off. So if you
mhm,
have 10 things, maybe make it more manageable, maybe four, right? And then you'll use these four this month, and then next month you'll take two out and you'll switch two more and you'll use those four. In the next
mm,
month, take out these two and you'll switch. So at least within a 6 month or a year period, you're getting a collection of
mm.
supplements, but it's not just all at the same time.
Right, right. Definitely more of a longevity focus.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely over time. And then, you know, in the winter, we want our arthritic herbs, or we want our arthritic, you know,
Right, right.
supplements, like maybe
Yeah.
turmeric. But in the summer, it's hot. You probably Turmeric is going to make you warm. You probably don't need it in the summer. So,
Mm,
so you can make, every animal is different. So you have to really look at the medical record. You have to have trust with the family. You have to look at what they're giving, and then you have to kind of like let them feel like, you have to let the family have agency to kind of participate. And
yeah,
you have to let them also understand, listen, these are supplements. This is this is something that we're doing to help. It's not something that we're doing, that we have to do all the time. It's just,
right,
we
right,
just incorporate it, and then we have to be mindful that it might be too much for that pet. Because
right.
some pets get upset when it's like all these supplements being shoved in their mouth, and all the
Yeah.
liquid, they
All the
get.
more reason to use whole foods and different functional natural things as sort of foundational. Calling it supplements when they are these things that are kind of more like food medicine feels sort of wrong. But would you agree that maybe you have sort of a couple foundational things that are aligned with this pet's kind of general condition, and then as seasons change, as their needs change, then you rotate in those specific supplements that will help them?
Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely makes a
Yeah.
lot. I think what I notice is people sometimes. So there's a lot of advertisement. So people get like, almost like they see an advertisement and it pulls them, and then
Right.
all of a sudden that supplement becomes the supplement that overpowers everything, and then maybe 3 months later, a new advertisement, and then that pulls them. So
Right.
So I mean, and that's natural. That happens, especially in this world with social media and online advertising. So it's kind of something where you have to let the family feel comfortable making decisions on their own, but also, you know, letting them. A lot of times they'll just email, Doc, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, oh, that's good, but maybe just do it for 3 months and then move on to another supplement.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got kind of a list of if you are looking at new supplements that you want to add. This Angela Ardolino, the founder of MycoDog and CBD Dog Health, she created this great explanation of what you need to look for on supplements to make sure that they are actually of therapeutic value.
Okay.
Number one, is it third party tested? Are they testing it for purity, for safety? Are all active ingredients clearly listed and recognizable? Are these like 7 syllable words that are clearly synthetics? Are the inactive ingredients limited and natural? Does this company disclose their sourcing, their manufacturing practices, who formulated it, why are they doing it? Is there a story and a reason, or is it just some hedge fund white labeled something? Does it address something specific, or is it foundational, kind of what we were talking about? Are we just adding things for the sake of adding because Instagram told us to? Are there warning signs that the supplement is not working based on how the pets are reacting? And just kind of at a basic level, can it be replaced with real food, plants, fungi? Is it just something that, are we giving a dried pumpkin extract when we could just be feeding pumpkin?
Yeah. No, no. I mean, those are all valid things. Third party, you know, again, reading the ingredients. I'm amazed at how many of my families do not know how to read ingredients. I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest, because many times I'll see an ingredient and I'll be like, oh, it has this, and they didn't know. And
Yeah.
even if
What
for us,
kind of what kind of resources do you give them, or how do you guide them on choosing a product? Like, how do you vet the brands that you use in your practice and
so
impart that wisdom?
yeah, yeah. So here, I mean, so I've done the work of researching different companies, and so those are the companies that I trust. So at least with respect to things that I sell here, it's basically I've done what you've done, right? I've looked at the ingredients, I've talked to the manufacturer, I know where it's made, and I know, how it works. Third party tested. Sometimes you can't get that information. Now
Mm.
once you're on Amazon, I don't even know where it comes from, because there's a lot of counterfeits. And I accept that everyone uses Amazon, so it's part of American experience at this point. But there's counterfeit there. There's a lot of counterfeit there. So
Yeah.
I just educate people, and at the end of the day, they are free to make their own decision.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
We had an experience, or it was really common 7 years ago when I started working in this industry, working with hemp extract, that there would be a lot of human products marketed towards pets, and they would basically just take the human product and put a paw print on it, and then market it towards pets. What do you recommend for your clients who are wondering about, just using what they've got for themselves for their pets?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, people do that. Definitely, people do that, and and then they'll come to me and they'll ask me, Doc, so what do you think about this? And I'll say, well, there's no dose on that label. Like, there's
Right.
no milligrams. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know how to dose it.
Or
So I
there
say,
may be ingredients in it that can be harmful to animals. Xylitol was so often included as a sweetener in hemp extracts, and we've got alcohol tinctures, so common. If you have a liquid mushroom extract, so often, because mushrooms need an alcohol extraction, they just leave that alcohol in there. When if you've got a dog that is really sick, giving them a high octane alcohol every day is probably not something that's going to be good for their body. So we do a full other process that evaporates all of the alcohol off with our MycoDog products. But I think about, like, people giving their dogs Benadryl all the time.
yeah, I definitely do not recommend it. Benadryl is a common medicine that people use. It's over the counter. It definitely works, especially when you have a hives, but it is not something that we use too often. But and you have to be
Yeah.
careful. Benadryl I mean, it's very safe. So I don't want to say don't use it. If you have hives and you need Benadryl, definitely give it. But to give it long term, to give it all the time, it's not
Right.
something that we kind of recommend here.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, I think we've covered a lot. We talked about a lot of different things.
yeah, of course.
Really kind of core concepts, just identifying these stressors that are bound to rise at this time of year, looking at both indoor environment, outdoor environment, changing up what our spaces look like, what our routines look like, trying to remove some clutter from our lives, both physically and in terms of how we're taking care of ourselves. Getting back to those habits that we know are really good for us and our animals, sleeping right, getting the right amount of activity, getting outside, moving our bodies again, and just making sure that our support is specific, that we're not just on autopilot. This is the time to reassess, declutter, and then get clear about what we're doing for our pets.
No, I mean, listen, when you're transitioning from one season to another, in general, it's very important to, I mean, the way I do it, you have to meditate on it. You have to kind of plan
Mm,
out your whole next season, and even look towards future seasons. Um, it's a personal thing. I mean, some people, this comes easy. You can declutter, and some people, you're kind of like paralyzed, and it becomes a hoarding issue. You're kind of like everything's accumulated.
yep.
So I
Yep.
mean,
I get
everyone
that.
everyone has different energies, and I definitely try not to. I mean, I never shame people about this because I never know what they're going through, and I know that these are all personal journeys, but all of these things affect our animals. Um,
Hmm.
there are a lot of pets that are scavengers. So if you have everything around the house, they just eat it. Dogs, cats, they'll put things in their mouth and get a foreign body. So it's something that you have to be really, really careful. But considering the food, considering the environment, how you're walking outside, um, just your activity level. Some people will walk their pets, especially in the city, for an hour and a half. Some people walk it for 20 minutes. There's some small dogs that maybe that's okay. You're in an apartment, you can run around the apartment. But if you're a big dog, you need to go out. You need to socialize. You need to interact. You need to see other animals. You need to see other people. You need to feel comfortable hearing noises. All the fire trucks or the
Right.
loud trucks. Trains
Yep.
here in New York City. So all
Yep.
these things impact, and again, all these things impact with some pets produce a lot of anxiety, a lot of
Hmm.
anxiety, and so it's hard. CBD is a nice way to help. Chinese herbs are a nice way to help. Diet, real food, because once you have real food, your gut is happy. Once your gut is happy, your gut is your second brain. First
Yep.
brain, second brain. When your gut's not
Yep.
happy, you're not in a good mood,
Right.
and
Right.
it produces so many other issues.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some questions from folks in the audience. I see people talking here. Hi, Beth. Hey, Fawn. How's it going, you guys? We've got um, Lisa says inactive ingredients are not truly inactive. That's absolutely true. Nothing you put in is just doing nothing. It's not there for no reason. Um, Yep, she's got a sensitive dog named Gemma. So we've got some questions, but before we do, I just wanted to talk to you specifically because I've been talking nonstop about the research that we published this year on the senior dog study, and I know that you use clarity in your practice and have been working with dogs who are experiencing CCD for a long time. And one of the things when I talk to pet parents about this throughout our process, not one of them, when they brought it to their veterinarians, really had anything super tangible to offer them. They kind of said, well, there's not really anything on the market to help with this. really we can just hope that it doesn't progress too quickly. What has your perspective been on where things were traditionally and what people thought and how they're going? What is how does this research land on you?
Yeah, no. So what I've noticed with cognitive dysfunction syndrome is that there are not really a lot of meds that work in the Western front. We don't have much. There are definitely people that are trying to come up with supplements, but it just hasn't. Like Alzheimer's in pets has not kicked in at all. It's
Mm,
very very sad. Like it's almost like when a pet comes in before, like in the Western, when I had more of a Western clinic, there wasn't really much we could offer. But
mm,
now with Chinese herbs, with real food, um, so the big thing with that is you have to kind of like stimulate them, right? You have to get
hmm,
goals where they can't eat the food quickly. They have to kind of like move the food around so that they can get at it. You have to
hmm.
work for it. Yeah, it's almost like a puzzle. You have to make
Right.
like eating to become like a puzzle so that
Yeah.
they're thinking, because it's different
Yeah.
than the food's right in front of you, you're just eating it, and then now you're like, oh, okay, part of the food is here, part of the food is here, part of the food is under something. I have to use my paw to get it out. It involves thinking about it. So, doing supplements like Clarity, CBD, doing supplements like mushrooms, doing supplements like Chinese herbs, real food, and then just cognitive exercises. Those are those are the things that have to be done, but you want to try to do it early.
Yeah. Right.
That's the secret, catching it early. And so, what are the early signs of cognitive dysfunction? Would be like, kind of like pacing. That seems to happen a lot. More at the end. In the beginning, it would be like urinary tract, like accidents around the house. The doggy or the cat forgets where it is and will go into a corner and kind of like just stare at the wall.
Hmm.
Sometimes they even forget us. I mean,
Hmm.
when it's really advanced, those dogs and cats are just pacing the room.
Hmm.
That's all they're doing. They're just pacing.
Yeah.
And then you stop them. Hey, how you doing? They just walk right by you. That
Yeah.
would be an advance, but you kind of want to catch it beforehand. You kind of want,
Yeah.
and that involves just having, you educating yourself about the symptoms, but then just having a good relationship with a vet who can help you figure out, what supplements or what Chinese herbs or what, mushroom supplements that you can use, because in the
Yeah.
Western front, we don't have a lot.
Yeah.
Western,
And with the kind of research that we're doing, I mean, we really wanted to focus on making sure that we were doing good science, making sure that it was validated by objective data and that was still grounded in the real world experience of our pet parents. How important is it to you that that the science is there for the reasoning behind these things, and how do you look for good science?
yeah, no, I mean, so most papers get published in a peer-reviewed journal, and so that's a huge thing. Once an article goes through a peer review, that means that different veterinarians have looked at it, have verified it, have checked the data, and they vouch for it in essence, and they allow you to publish it in a journal. That's important. I mean, having a journal publish it and then having like a lay magazine is totally different. So you have to kind of look for that, and it's hard, that in the Western, in Western medicine, especially veterinary Western medicine, it is strongly Western. All these alternative modalities it's not incorporated yet, and so
Hmm.
it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I mean, many times my clients come and I'll give them herbs, and let's say I have to refer to a bigger hospital, like a big referral hospital, and I'll tell them, hey, listen, I'm just gonna let you know they don't like any of this, and and
Hmm.
and my clients go, the nice thing is my clients trust me, and they'll be like, don't worry about it, doc. I trust you. I'm just going there because I need more advanced care. When we come back, we'll do, and I'll read the notes from the other doctor, and I'll be like, they'll be like, oh, we don't know what this does. We don't know what this does. And I get it. That's not their world. But at the same time, we have to work together. So everyone has to play nice in the box. And so I always try to tell my family, listen, just tell them everything that we're doing, because there's nothing wrong with that. But now you have to decide how you want to proceed. So it is touchy. It is touchy because it's not seamless. It's not like
Yeah.
integrated veterinarians and Western trained veterinarians are working together. It's kind of like
Yeah.
goes to Western train and then it doesn't work and then they find us.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's too late. You know,
Hmm.
we should have been earlier.
Yeah. Right.
But
These
every point
these
on turning.
Yeah, I was just going to say these tools they're not new.
No.
Mushrooms for neurological function, for brain function. It's not new, but where we are now is we have this incredible science to validate what traditions have known for thousands of years. So, does that kind of give you hope and renewed energy to recommend things like lion's mane, reishi,
Yeah, yeah.
ashwagandha?
I mean, listen, change is slow. Change
Mm,
is slow. What CBD Dog is doing with that published paper, doing another published paper in a couple of years, another one, you know, what will change is once we have 20 years, 30 years, because it takes a generation, and maybe even takes several generations, to really.
mhm,
And then one thing I noticed: East Coast culture and West Coast culture very different. You can go to
mhm,
like Portland, Maine. I mean, I'm sorry, Portland, Oregon. There are like 10 integrated acupuncture clinics.
mm,
New York City, there's not that many. Maybe there's like five. For a
right.
city as big as New York City, only
Yeah.
five. And,
It's
and,
crazy.
and a city as small as Portland, Oregon, 10? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
West Coast culture is much different than East Coast culture.
Yep.
More acceptable.
So if you've got a dog that's coming into your practice right now and you spot some of these early moderate signs of CCD, what are you recommending kind of like right off the bat for them to start addressing this?
So most of them, I'm telling them to put them on a real food. That's the first thing. Second thing, we'll put them on some mushroom supplements. Clarity would be one option, or some type of powder, like because some dogs don't like the liquid, so you have to find the
Mm,
powder. Um, and then we just put them on a Chinese herb. We try to
mhm,
find what the pattern is, what their what their situation is. Definitely, we also don't ignore the Western, right? We'll do all the workup. We'll do blood work. We'll do probably not x-rays, but if it's, something CCD, at some point we'll send them to a neurologist just to get a consult, an initial consult. We'll get some information there, and then we'll use all that information to kind of make a decision about the Chinese herb.
mhm. Awesome. Okay, let's answer some questions that we've got. We got just a few minutes left here, so we'll go rapid fire. From Adina, she says, "How do I create a natural alternative to prednisone from natural extracts? I'm not sure how to properly create a blend and how it would be given to my dog. She was prescribed prednisone to take for the rest of her life, but after almost a year, I had to stop because it was causing other issues. Any
Yeah.
guidance?"
So I get this a lot. Like I'll have clients that come in with steroids, 6 months, a year, and so I can't stop it right away. You have to
Right.
wean off it. You have to, and usually you wean them off after several months. But a common herb that I'll use with steroids is something called San. So that's an herb that is kind of like a steroid, but it doesn't have all of the side effects. None of these Chinese herbs have the side effects that Western herbs have. The
Mm,
Western herb side effects are incredible. The
mm,
Chinese herb side effect, because it's food, much less. So I definitely would use something called San, something like that.
mm. Yeah, awesome. I mean, when we're speaking of Chinese herbs, the Chinese or medicinal practitioners, cannabis was most earliest written about in some of those scrolls for its pain killing properties, for its nausea properties, for menstrual issues. So it has a long history in Chinese herbal medicine, and as something to modulate the immune system, we can absolutely use hemp for our pets, and that's something that we see a lot of our other vets integrating as in that transition period as they're weaning them off of whatever that steroid might be, to give something to replace that in the system and bring them back to balance.
And then with that pet, I would also say, what is it eating? Like, it has to be a real food.
Mm.
Can't be kibble.
Yep.
Can't be
Yep.
kibble.
Okay, Monica asks, I have a 15-year-old mini dachshund, Sienna, and she had a snotty nose for several months. No
Mm.
one, vet, me, pet dietitian, has been able to figure out what's causing it. We've ruled out infection, did an intolerance test, so have changed her diet the past week, seeing if it is allergies, but no improvement yet. Other than that, snotty nose, she's fine.
Yeah.
What do you
So
think?
so with snotty noses, I like to use nettles. You can
Hmm.
you can buy nettles as a glycerin extract. You give it twice a day. It works like an antihistamine. Works very fast. It's dose dependent.
Hmm.
So you have to increase the dose depending on what you need. It works. I mean, that would be the first thing I would do. So nettles, definitely, again, real food, and definitely Chinese herb. I would do
Hmm.
sometimes Chinese herb, depending on what the pattern is. So the Chinese herb is really dependent on the physical exam. Like, you have to kind of like do the history, but then you have to touch the animal and you have to figure out
Right.
where things are stuck. And then,
Yeah. Is that mucus production impulse, is that related to inflammation in the airways?
it's basically rhinitis. That's what they would call it. Rhinitis is chronic inflammation of the lining of the nose. So it's inflammation. A lot of vets use antibiotics. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't work. Or maybe it
Right.
works for 1 week or 2 weeks and then it comes back. And the only reason the antibiotic works is because, from a Chinese perspective, antibiotics are cold and bitter.
Mm.
Anything
Mm.
that's cold and bitter will decrease inflammation. So, you know, many times pets will come in with a urinary tract infection, but they didn't get a urine sample because of XYZ. And many times they'll prescribe an antibiotic, and the antibiotic will work. And then let's say you finally get a urine sample, and it's like, oh, there really wasn't a urinary tract infection. But then why did the antibiotic work? Because from an herbal perspective, if you treat the antibiotic as a bitter herbs are antibiotic. So instead of using the antibiotic, just use a bitter herb. It
Mm.
has none of the side
Hmm.
effects of the antibiotic, and it works.
Right.
So,
Right.
so what I've learned is, you know, you have to kind of, I mean, it's complicated, right? You have to look at the medical record, you have to look at the pet, and then you have to kind of like have a connection with the family, and you have to help them slowly change it. So for rhinitis, I would try nettles, and then I would tell them, try to put them on a real food diet and try to find an acupuncture Chinese herbalist who can kind of like help you figure out the pattern.
Mm. From the mushroom tool chest, look at cordyceps. Cordyceps is one that really has an affinity for the pulmonary tissue, for the respiratory system, where it interacts directly with that localized immune tissue there, and can have inflammation on that localized level. Cordyceps are really fantastic for that respiratory system. And also, one of the properties of cordyceps is really promotes blood oxygenation. So more oxygen to those little capillaries in the lungs, and more oxygen to those airways, allowing them just for the blood to be flowing, for it not to get blocked up and inflamed. Um, yeah. So yeah, good luck with your snotty dog. I hope she does well. We've got, let's see, Debbie Reed asks, I was told by someone else mushrooms aren't good for a dog with liver disease. What do you say, Dr. Caesar?
No, no, we use mushrooms for liver disease. Like, I don't. I mean, so I mean, listen. If you go on the internet, you can find a lot of things, and it's very important to figure out where it comes from, and then you have to really have a calm mind, and you have to assess it. So it's hard. I
Mhm.
mean, the internet is forever, right? So if there's an article on there about liver or some issue with mushrooms, yeah, people gonna remember that, but this is something where you have to really trust the veterinarian, and you have to trust the manufacturer. And if you don't trust them, obviously you're not going to do it. But you know the whole intent here is to help. So I mean, the first thing I would do, I say, oh, send me the link to whatever you're reading. And it's incredible. You just ask people, just send me the link, and you look at it and you're like, oh, sometimes it doesn't even say that, or sometimes
Right.
it's something different, or sometimes you can read between the lines, like, oh, this is not an academic statement. This is more like someone's opinion. So, I always just go back to the story. I say, well, just send it to me, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm reading from it. I didn't get that this says that it causes liver problems. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah, it reminds me of that study that was done on hemp or on CBD, where they just published this headline that CBD causes liver damage, and it threw everybody into the scramble. And then when you
or
actually read the research, it was a CBD isolate, so a
yeah,
really refined version of it at astronomical doses, just
yeah,
thousands of milligrams, just pounding them with this super refined, broken down isolate, and even in that case, they returned to pretty much normal levels after a certain amount of time. But it was really sensational, and so there is a lot of information out there. I really recommend that you find yourself a holistic vet, an integrative veterinarian like Dr. Caesar, who understands how these things work and who has the knowledge of, for instance, Chinese herbal medicine, where mushrooms like reishi, like shiitake, maitake have been used for liver disease and liver issues for thousands of years, and actually the opposite is true, that they're really beneficial for liver health.
definitely.
Um, I think I think that's all we got for today.
Hey,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much
oh,
for joining me, Dr. Caesar.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
it was really fun talking to you, and thank you everybody out there. We've got this list of different things that you can look out for pet supplements that we can send to you. So if you would like to see our supplement guide, just comment guide in the comments there, and we will DM that to you. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Caesar. I'm really appreciative, and I can't wait to see you next time on the streets of New York.
definitely.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye bye, everyone.